Well, we're back, and I have something here that I've been working on for quite a while, and I'll show you what it is. This is the Twerker 289 intake that we had on the channel a while back, and as you can see, is somewhat different than the last time you guys saw it. This has gone through quite a bit of changes. I originally had this ported for my car, which was going to be an automatic with a stock engine. And then Adam got a hold of me and he said, "Dad, I thought about maybe putting that intake on my car." So I did more work to it. And he was going to put it on his car with stock heads. So now it's going to go on the car with aluminum heads, and he's thinking about putting a bigger cam in the engine. So therefore, this has been finished about 3 times. It was done once for my combination, and then it was done for his kind of mild combination, and now we're trying to get it where it's good for some decent horsepower. So here's part of the problem I had with this. I had these runners all cut back a certain way, and of course, if you wouldn't know what it looked like before, I don't know if you'd really understand how much work is done to this, but here's the problem I had. When you do something to make it better, sometimes it's not better. So I cut all the runners back, and what I did, I tapered these end runners into the center runners here, because these Ford intakes always have tendency to rob the air in the 2 center runners. And this back runner here, actually the front runner where the thermostat is, was extremely small, and it had the least amount of air going to it. And of course, it would also have the least amount of fuel being able to mix up in that little runner. Now, it was so obvious how different this runner was from all the other ones, which is probably intentional, being it's a longer runner. Their thinking probably is it's a longer runner, so let's make it smaller so it'll probably have more airspeed. That's my way of thinking. And then they put these nice little angles on it where you go up inside, and it has a sharp little turn that kind of picks up on the side, and they do that little swish motion, which I redesigned it and took all that out. So whatever time they took developing this intake to make them bright ideas, they no longer exist in this intake. At least I did what I could with it. But here's the problem I ran into more than anything, was this. I had this looking pretty good all in here, pretty equal. When I blew through it, they were all pretty good. And then I got over here to this runner again, and the runner that was actually the worst for getting air to it, I cut this wall back right here and blended it in here to the center right here, and then it picked right up. So then when I tested the intake, blowing air back through it, this runner was robbing from this runner. And how do I know that? Well, when I cut the metal and all that lays into the plenum right here, and I blow through it, you can easily see where that metal wants to go. And either blows out there, or it blows out consistently around the floor. And that tells me more than anything mathematically. So we're getting there. I finally corrected this pretty good. As you can see, it's pretty drastic. And so far, so good. Sometimes you do things that look good to the eye, and it's not what it appears. And I had a little idea here to put a V into this, a little trench, so that would help keep the air up on the floor here and guide that air to these end runners. And in real life, what had happened from me doing that, it makes these want to favor, the air wants to favor these center runners. It's actually jumping the hill, and therefore we're kind of back to where we started. But I did correct a couple of these, took the floor, laid it back into the middle, and so far this one's good. So far I have to level this out. So once I level this back into the floor, I think we'll be in good shape. But I'll tell you what, guys, I have so much time in this intake, you would never believe it. And I'm sure there's going to be one fella say, Terry, why don't you just buy a different intake? Well, we have other intakes. And the problem we have, it would be the same problem with a different intake as we're having with this one. I think this intake here is going to make a very stout low end. That's what I think. We'll see. The car that Adam's going to put this on is the wagon, in case somebody's kind of lost track what vehicle this is for. It's for the Fairmont wagon, and if you follow his channel, you can actually see his kind of thinking, what he's looking for, what he's going for as far as power, somewhat. And you would think you might want something that's a little bit upper RPM more than this intake. But I think, well, the work I've done to this intake right here, I think with a spacer on it and the work I've done to this intake, I think it's going to be good for around 68 to 7,000 RPMs, which, if everything comes into play with the combination that he's planning on going with as far as camshaft and everything like that, that's about where the engine's going to be. I believe is around 7,000, which in the real time, the camshaft says 7,000, and that usually means your power band's good till about 68 if you do it according to their specs to green it in. Now you can move that camera around and you could make that thing be good to 6,500. You can move it back the other way, retarded, and have it be where it has more top end, and you can do a little bit either way with the camshaft as far as what RPM band it's going to be operating in. So anyway, I think we're going to have a pretty decent combination with the heads he got, and I haven't saw them in person yet, so I'll know when I get them in my hands and look them over exactly what we'll have as far as potential power. And sometimes things look a little better than what they are. Adam says they look good, and from what I've seen when he sent me a live with them over the phone here, they did look pretty decent. But I've had heads where they look pretty decent, and I started cutting into them before, and I'm like, it's totally different when you start changing the shape or whatever you're doing. I've really kind of had that problem 2 or 3 times where I said, wow, this is actually a good set of cylinder heads. I don't know if I should really dig into them like this, and found out that the more I dug, the more they needed to be dug into. So hope that makes sense to you. But anyway, that's that with this. The lighting in here isn't so hot, and it makes all these shadows, and I know on the video this isn't going to look too pretty, but it does look pretty decent. When I look down the runners, and the plenum has a very nice spiral to it. The air moves around pretty nice. I don't know if you guys noticed it or not. You can kind of see how it's rounded here off the walls, and I angled it back. So we'll see if that works out for some good torque. And we'll take it as it is, and if we don't like it, we'll change it. I think we're going to like this intake. And I always say, whenever you mess with an intake, it's one of them deals where it's a little bit aggravating to change things back and forth. But if this thing turned out to be where we totally didn't like the power it made, then we put another intake on it. So that's one of the things I look at, is that it's not that big a deal to change an intake. Now, it's always work, and especially if you're a guy that has to hire this stuff done, you want it to be good in the first place, which we all do. But we always make the changes we need to make, and we've been pretty fortunate with things, with the combos we put together. And especially considering some of our combos is stuff that's fallen into our lap, used camshafts, used converters, you know, some of the parts we don't pick brand new, and like this old intake right here. But anyway, we'll get to see how this old intake works out, because we have an old pair of cylinder heads to match it. Both the stuff's like 30 years old, so maybe older. I forget what year I said this was, this intake, but it's old technology, and we're going to see what we can do with it. So anyway, guys, I want to thank you for stopping in here, checking me out. I will be getting the heads over here and starting on them. And if you don't know what heads they are, you'll have to tune over to my son's channel and see what they are. If you know what they are, then you've already watched his channel. So anyway, we're having a little bit of fun with this. It's going to be neat to watch what this wagon winds up doing here. So thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing you soon with a pair of cylinder heads in my hands. Take care, guys. God bless you.